So guys, what if Naruto x Kuroka x movie? A beautiful young woman with long red hair and a curvaceous figure strode through the door into a store filled with all kinds of merchandise, ranging from simple stuffed toys to model kits from different kinds of anime and mangas. The store owner merely smiled at the teenager as she had been a frequent customer of his who had purchased a lot from his store. "Ah, Rias. What can I get for you today?" "Hello, Kagetsuchi-san." The redhead known as Rias bowed to the old man. "Has the Master Grade RX-0 unicorn I ordered arrived yet?" The elderly man nodded as he brought the box out, showing the picture of a white mobile suit with a horn on the top its head reminiscent of a unicorn. "Just came in this morning." Rias beamed happily as she handed out the correct amount of money needed to purchase the item. "That's great, thank you so much." The man simply smiled and lightly chuckled at how such a beautiful girl like her can be such an otaku. "My pleasure, you have yourself a nice day now." "I will. Thank you once again." Rias then turned around and made her way out the door, happily holding her newly purchased item she will be spending the entire night and tomorrow assembling. Now you are probably wondering, who is this girl? What is so special about her? To answer that, it's simple. She is Rias Gremory, heiress to the Gremory clan of devils in the underworld. That's right everyone, she is a devil, a living, breathing, devil of the underworld. And she is an otaku. Deciding that she will take the train this time, she stepped into the train station. Sitting down on the bench, she looked to her right to see a young man her age or probably a year or two older than her. He had golden hair and the bluest eyes one could ever have. But most of all he had the most distinct whisker-like marks on his face. "It's the whisker marks, isn't it?" the young man asked with amusement laced in his face. Oh. Rias flushed and looked away. "Sorry, but yeah, it's the whiskers." The young man chuckled and smiled, using his hand to comb his hair. "I get that a lot, you wouldn't be the first, that's for sure. Still, I am really sorry for being rude." "It's alright." The man shrugged before looking at the contents of her bag. "Master Grade RX-0 Unicorn Gundam, didn't that just come out today?" She nodded enthusiastically. "I pre-ordered it. I am going to be spending the entire night assembling this. I am so excited." "Well, at least it's nice to meet a fellow nerd, a rather beautiful one at that." "Oh, thanks." She flushed a light hue of pink at the compliment given to her. TT was strange, this young man her age was a simple human, and yet, he intrigued her. Before she could say anything, her train had arrived. "Well, this is my ride. I am Rias, by the way, Rias Gremory." "Naruto," he told her, "Naruto Riger." "Well, it's nice to meet you, Naruto-kun." Rias waved as the door closed, getting a return wave and a soft smile that made her blush. "He's interesting. Rias Gremory," he thought as he repeated the name in his head. "To think I would meet someone like you here of all places. Never thought a devil would be a Gundam fan." Standing up and watching the train leave, he activated a device, digitizing his body and rendering it invisible to the naked eye. He was no ordinary human. The three factions, the ones behind the works of the world, angels, fallen angels, and devils. These three supernatural races had existed since time before, and long ago, they were at war. Long ago there was a war that nearly destroyed it all, a war between the three that ravaged all. Of course, records of it could be found in any biblical history, in any library, and through any historical researcher. But of course this was all supernatural, and as time passed humanity believed less and less of it, further weakening the kingdom of heaven as believers were turning into a premium. Time came and gone, and what was left of Christianity, which was still one of the dominant religions in the world, amassed mostly in the Americas and Europe. These were all that was left since the birth of atheism and the beginning of Christianity's decline. Now the angels are holding onto what is left of what they have, while they still remain strong, they are from what they used to be long ago. Even the devils did not have it easy, for they had just recovered from a civil war to overthrow their previous leaders who wanted to continue on with the three-sided war, a war that no longer held any meaning. Now under the new leadership of four Satans, they had finally enjoyed the peace that many devils had longed for. The fallen angels on the other hand resided somewhere in the underworld that had been granted to them by the newly reformed devil government. For all three factions, they signed a treaty known as the Kuo Treaty. It was here that all three of them signed a treaty of both peace and friendship. Along with the agreement, they will all combat the new threat known as Chaos Brigade, a rogue faction that threatens the balance of peace. But deeper into the shadows, there was a faction of humans with power thought impossible by most, a power that rivals the three factions. It was a power not of magic or any supernatural power, but it was a power created through the intellectual minds of humans. A faction that has yet to be known yet in the eyes of all. It was just a regular PMC. A simple private military company with extensive resources to build the most advanced weapons to date. But none of the three factions know what they were truly capable of. Reports of dead rogue fallen angels and devils were immediately covered up. Confusion spread as each of their bodies were littered with bullet holes. While the three factions were unclear as to who killed them, it became clear that some sort of human-made weapon was created to hurt and kill them. It was most certainly frightening news. As they investigated the areas where the rogue fallen angels and devils were killed, they detected no trace of anyone who killed them. It was as if the humans suffered no losses whatsoever. It was just inconceivable. No human or humans should have this kind of power roaming freely. Year 2035 AD. Somewhere in Eastern Europe, a four-man squad of soldiers, +1, clad in black armor with the symbol of an orange skull on their shoulders, crept through the dark alleyways of Country D. Behind the squad was a single soldier wielding the newest incarnation of the Kalashnikov series, the Alaska 470, a complete revival of the original design without its faults, using the famous 7.62 by 39mm round, but no longer suffered from its infamous kick of a recoil. It was as accurate as an American-made M16 rifle and fired just as fast. Strapped to his back was a custom-made bolt-action sniper rifle with a suppressor installed. The man was a good 6 foot flat and bore a well-built body, not too muscular yet not too thin. In short, he had an athletic build. Unlike the four other soldiers who wore standard gear with the Overmatch Armat X helmets, he wore the new Daedalux Slant X2 helmet, a white round triangular designed helmet with improved HRV. HRV stands for Hyper Reality Visor, a real-time viewing system that detects biodensity and heat. It was a system built somewhere in Germany and was only made known to the soldiers working in the PMC. Not even the world's militaries have this kind of technology. The United Nations had very little knowledge of this upstart private military company, but they all were increasingly worried over the superior weapons, training, and technology they possessed for their soldiers. They had tanks that could transform their treads into spider legs for increased mobility when in a tight situation. They were the world's leading PMC, and nobody didn't want to mess with them unless they were dumb enough. "There's the building," the squad leader said as he raised his arm to stop the others behind him. "I'll take overwatch in the next building," the extra soldier with the Daedalux helmet said, pointing to the building next to their target. "I can set up and get a good view from there. Once I am up there, have your men ready to storm in." "Yes, sir." The sniper then made his way up, using his body to leap up the walls and grab onto the ladder. Parkour was what it was called, using the human body and surroundings as propulsion to get from point A to point B with the focus of maintaining as much momentum as possible while still remaining safe. It had become the primary training discipline for these mercenaries. Scaling the ladders, he vaulted over to the open window before reaching the roof, where he was given a good view of the half-finished building across from where he was. There he saw 5 fallen angels discussing their plans on what to do next. He couldn't quite hear what they were saying, but it seems their leader was quite upset. Setting his Kalashnikov down, he grabbed his sniper rifle and trained his crosshairs directly at the 5 fallen angels as his HRV saw through the brick wall. Hammer 2-1. "This is Disciple. I am in position. Go in on my signal." "Copy that, Disciple, moving into position." "How are a bunch of humans this powerful? It's just not possible." The lead fallen angel roared, "They're humans, they're supposed to be weak and fragile." "Well, apparently we were wrong," a female fallen said while nursing her wound from a gunshot wound. "And their bullets hurt. I mean really hurt. They have bullets that can kill us, bullets made of Damascus steel. This can't be happening," another said as he looked at his fellow fallen angels while healing the wounded one. "These humans are even immune to our illusionary magic. It's just not." "Squelch * Larner." The female screamed as a single bullet ripped through her friend's head. She could only helplessly watch as her now dead comrade fell flat on the floor. The door to her front slammed open as a device was thrown into the room, emitting a flash that stunned them. Seconds later, light spears were being hurled from her still able-bodied comrades, but they ultimately fell to the hail of Damascus steel-imbued bullets tearing through their flesh. "Deploying shield," a soldier said as he slammed a device onto the floor and activated a wall that deflected their light spears. The female just couldn't believe her eyes. They now had the means to not only kill them but counter their abilities. This can't be happening. Another few seconds had only passed and her friends were now on the ground. Alive at least, but she feared what would happen to them, most likely interrogated. "Chaos Brigade agents secured," one of the soldiers said through their black helmets. "Good." A voice came through the radio, "Have them shipped out for processing." "Roger that." The soldiers then cuffed them, using some sort of inhibitors that prevented them from using their powers. "My life is over," the female fallen lamented. You stinkin' humans won't get away with this. The fallen leader barked but was then silenced by the butt of one of the soldiers' rifle, that also hurt. Shut the fuck up. One of them said, you got no power here. The leader growled but was then earned a boot to his face. Hammer 2 to 1, disciple. The voice in the radio was made heard once more, no hitting prisoners, now get them and head up to the roof. Yes sir. The now captured fallen angels were led up to the roof of the building where a VTOL aircraft was waiting them along with one more soldier holding a sniper rifle while a Kalashnikov assault rifle was slung over his soldier. All prisoners are accounted for. Good. The sniper nodded, let's go home. The female fallen angel could only grimace at the people who captured her and her brethren. They were the light that never existed, those who work in the shadows that had sowed fear into the hearts of the three factions. Blacklight. Disciple smirked when she heard the woman mutter the name but was cut off when the communicator in his helmet went off. Hello. Yes, really? I will be there immediately. Something good, Commander? The squad leader asked his superior as they boarded the VTOL. Smiling behind his helmet, the sniper nodded, very good. Play Ghost in the Shell Innocence opening. The Ballad of Puppets, Flowers Grieve and Fall. Progress. The building block of any civilization. It was through progress that thrusted humanity forward for millennia. It was through progress that we are what we are today. Entertainment, medicine, industry, all of it would not be possible were it not for progress. Through progress came the advancement of technology, entertainment rose, actors became even more famous than religion. Music became a cult following, sometimes even worshipped. Weapons got more powerful, the action got faster, the stakes got bigger than anything we have ever seen. But it was also through progress that the truth became blurry. They say truth is the first casualty of war. But who defines what's true? Truth is just a matter of perspective. The duty of every soldier is to protect the innocent, and sometimes that means preserving the lie of good and evil. Sometimes the boundaries between the two don't even exist, it's just one big gray canvas. Through technology, the advances in human medicine became bigger than ever. Fully automated prosthetics were built. Genetic augmentation, DNA upgrades, altering the human body to make it whatever you want to be, pushing the boundaries of the limitations of the human body. Not creating perfection itself, but coming close to that. And perhaps through technology, we can even cheat death. Images of people throwing firebombs and whatever they could find at buildings. Multiple riots have been occurring all over America as Humanity Front purists are attacking limb clinics everywhere. We cannot just stand by in silence and watch as these scientists play God, a purist declares in front of an audience of thousands of people in Detroit. The scene then jumps to a scientist from the Riger office in America makes a public statement in front of a large building with the symbol of a DNA strand with a pair of hands holding an apple in front of it. Playing God was never our intention, and it will never be our intention. We simply wish to thrust humanity forward into an age of prosperity. The image of a man in a talk show angrily retorts the claims from purists. These Luddites don't understand the benefits of fully functional cybernetic prosthetics and augmentations. Think of the war amps. The children with missing arms or legs, do they even realize how much good it has done for them? A religious zealot within the purist mass screams defiantly in front of a wall of policemen with a weapon in hand. This is not what God had planned for his children. Is it wrong to want to surpass the limitations of the human body? Is it wrong to wish to better ourselves for the benefit of all? This isn't about technology. This is about right and wrong. You think the retinal chips you buy at the mall are high-tech? A researcher retorted, our military is light years ahead of that. The things we use to heal ourselves, they use it to literally turn humans into weapons. The notion that the United States sponsors some sort of super soldier program is not just untrue. The scene jumps from a politician talking to reporters to a battlefield where 3 soldiers are seen through a heat sensor with one soldier not having any heat on his legs, arms, and eyes. It is patently absurd. Next question. The scene jumps back to the researcher, neural control, voluntary limb replacement. This is happening. The only thing holding us back is how far we are willing to go. End song. Blacklight. Ascension Chapter 1. Mankind Divided. Munich, Germany. Riger Hospital. Where is she? A young man of 20 years with blonde hair and blue eyes, and noticeable whisker-like marks on each cheek asked the nurse in the reception, to which the reply he got was her pointing at the direction in the room number. The man ran through the large hallways of the hospital, where he is stopped at room number 900 on the 9th floor of the hospital. There he had a look of happiness when he saw a beautiful woman with long black hair and golden eyes, holding a newborn baby wrapped in a blanket with hair as gold as his but had the eyes of the woman. Kuroka. The woman lovingly smiled at the man at the door, tears of happiness flowing down her eyes. Naruto. The man known as Naruto slowly walked into the room and leaned down, their lips meeting in a loving and passionate kiss before at the infant. He's beautiful. He's ours. Kuroka whispered as she was still crying tears of joy. You gave me a future for my people. I promised you, didn't I? He sat down beside her and kissed her forehead. I love you so much, I can't believe it. I am a father. And I am a mother. She looked at his eyes, his augmented eyes, as she could see the tiny computers implanted into his retinas. Caressing his cheek and his whisker marks, she let one more tear slide down her cheek before smiling. I love you, Naruto, thank you. From there, the scene of a mother and father embracing each other with their child created a perfect picture. It's been 2 years now, he quietly said while gently stroking his son's cheek, who had inherited his whisker marks. 2 years since I found you and took you into my family, 2 years since I fell in love with you at first sight. Hard to believe I fell in love to a human, but not just any human. Kuroka said, the reincarnation of a hero long forgotten in history, a history now only known to the yokai. I still find that hard to believe. Well, believe it. She giggled before kissing him on the cheek and resting her head on his broad chest. I love you. You already told me that. I know, I just want to say it again. She lightly nuzzled her cheek onto her son's before placing a light kiss on his forehead. We haven't given him a name yet. How about Bolt? He suggested. Bolt. She raised an eyebrow and looked at her husband with an amused look. You want to name our son after some screw? That of course made him pout. I was referring to the lightning bolt. Blitz would be his German name. He said, resting his head on his wife's, Blitz von Rieger, Prince of Germany. It does have a nice ring to it. She agreed, caressing her son's cheek. Bolt it is. Hearing a tired sigh from the Nekosho, Naruto's arm around her tightened a little. You okay? Just tired. Giving birth does that to anyone, no matter what race you are. That I will not argue with. He said as he remained seated on the bed with his wife, with the baby still in her arms. Our life has only just begun. You got this for us? Kuroka looked at the mountain below her while she held her precious little son in her arms. At the top of the mountain she could see a sizable house. Just outside the chalet-style structure was a landing pad for their VTOL aircraft to land on. Yep. Naruto nodded while wrapping an arm around his wife's waist. I got the Kilstein house for us. It's no longer a restaurant but our new home, a nice place for Bolt to grow up in. How much did this all cost? No need to worry, I was able to afford it, though Grandma and Aunt Adelaide helped. I can't believe we're going to live here. Kuroka exhaled while gazing at the beautiful home along with the valley down below where the town was present. Even with the age of technology, the town of Berchtesgaden was still beautiful. Oh wow, this is just wonderful. Anything for you, baby. The blonde said, kissing her fully on the lips, which was returned in kind. I already had our stuff moved, so you won't have to worry about moving. Thank you, Naruto. I am your husband, it's my job to get my family nice things. Just don't spoil Bolt too much. She chided playfully. But at least we can raise our child in peace. I don't have to worry about the factions coming after me. I'd be damned if I would let that happen. He declared as they felt the aircraft descending down onto their new home's landing pad. They are not taking you away from me. She smiled and leaned closer to his chest, although I do hope Sharon-chan would get the chance to meet her nephew. In time. He reassured her, let's just get settled in first. The time to reveal ourselves to the supernatural world isn't right yet. For now let's just enjoy our new family. Meeting you 2 years ago was the best thing ever. Yeah, it was. He shivered a little as he felt her lips on his neck. My family. Oh, this is beautiful. The two-tailed Nekosho let out a breath while gazing at the beautiful view of the valley and the Alps. Come take a look inside, everything's been already set up. The black-haired beauty in her iconic black yukata was rendered speechless. Everything inside had been completely refurbished. The living room was now up to modern standards along with the largest television that could ever be fitted in their new home. The kitchen had also been built with the latest technology in order to maximize comfort and living conditions. It was everything she could have asked for and possibly even more. The master bedroom had a queen-sized bed with a large window that had the view of the valley. Just next door was Bolt's room with a crib installed, stuffed toys, pillows, blankets, extra diapers and supplies for the baby alone was more than enough. She truly was blessed to have met him, and now he had given her the future of the Nekosho race, a race nearly extinct. Due to Nekomata normally being female, they are forced to mate with other races, normally human males as they are the most numerous. No matter what race they mate with, the offspring would always be born a Nekomata. Kuroka on the other hand is a special variant of her race in the Nekosho, a sub-race known for mastering Ujutsu and Senjutsu. Ujutsu is the Yukai form of spellcraft and is mainly unique to the Yukai. Senjutsu on the other hand is different from magic and sorcery. The biggest difference is that Senjutsu stresses the importance of something called chakra, the aura that is the great original power that flows into one's spirit, in other words one's life force, and turns it into a constant current. It is a power that is both similar yet different from the magic of devils and the light power of angels. Its direct destructive power cannot match that of magic or the power of light, but Senjutsu can make use of the unknown part hidden within plants, animals, and people. For example, if one learned Senjutsu, it is said that they could excel at reading the flow of someone's spirit, of their aura, and that they can also grasp the movements of a faraway target to a certain degree. The problem with Senjutsu though is that while it can read and handle spirit energy, it also takes in the malice and ill will that floats in the world. This means that absorbing too much of that malice will result in one becoming drunk with power. It is something that Kuroka even her is afraid of, but thankfully Naruto said that they will tackle it together now that he had learned how to use chakra from fragments of memories of his past life. For now he would use chakra to strengthen his body and do feats thought impossible. She was elated though, for the first time in a very long time a Nekomata had given birth to a son, a male. The future of her race never looked brighter. She walked over to the living room after putting her son to sleep and saw her husband on the couch, looking at his cybernetic right arm. Naruto? It still baffles me how I can feel every touch with this arm. He whispered, flexing his prosthetic mechanical hand. It's been 10 years since I lost my right arm. 10 years since I lost my parents in that freak car accident. 10 years since Auntie Adelaide adopted me. 10 years since my life changed dramatically. Oh Naruto, she sat down beside him and cupped his cheek. Don't dwell in the past, I don't think your parents would want that. He let out a small smile while gently stroking his wife's hands with his cybernetic one. I know, I have a beautiful wife and a wonderful newborn son after all. You gave me the happiness I have wanted for so long. Hey, she chided while pecking him on the lips, none of that old people speech, we're not that old. Hey, he snickered, sorry, but then blushed when he felt his stomach rumble, I am actually hungry now. The Nekosho giggled and pulled him up to his feet, then let's go see what we can cook up. Unknown location days after the Kuo Treaty and yet another group of fallen angels in Chaos Brigade fall victim to these attacks. A man with black hair and golden bangs, lacing his fingers while speaking to two other men, one with long golden hair and a halo atop his head and the other with long red hair. This is the 5th one this month. This indeed is most concerning. The one with golden hair spoke with a grim nod, to think that humans would have gained this much power without us knowing. True, that is indeed troubling. The red spoke up, but these people have been targeting only Chaos Brigade units and stray devils that had been killing humans. I don't we have any real cause for concern as long as we do not provoke them. Yeah, you're right about that. The first person shrugged, leaning further into his chair. At least in a way they're helping us with that problem. What do you think, Michael? The blonde known as Michael sighed. While I do not deny that they have been indeed aiding us, I fear they may have an ulterior motive, and I also fear that they are not affiliated with the church. They have the makings of exorcists and yet no sign of exorcisms in the scenes, using weapons not sanctioned by the church. Don't expect these people to play by the rules, Michael. The redhead spoke, because I can assure you that it will most certainly will not. A war between humans would be disastrous as it is, and knowing the hearts of mankind they will retaliate in force. Just to be safe, I would advise that you simply let them be and see what happens next. He's got you there. The first person with black and gold hair said in agreement. Michael nodded, knowing that this was the best course of action. Very well, Sirzex, Azazel. Next day, more reports and scenes of purists attacking limb clinics arising as religion has become a major part of this. Many preachers and religious representatives have boldly claimed that augmentation is not unethical. The news then jumps to a purist from Humanity Front. These heathens do not know the repercussions of augmentation, no matter how much they deny it, they are playing God. Retribution is at hand. Click. Naruto sighed as he switched the channel to something more subtle, so Animal Planet was what he chose. It had only been a day since they had arrived in their new home and everything had fallen into normality for the young family. Why do I get the feeling that this is only going to end badly? They just don't know that God is dead. Kuroka shrugged while she had a blanket over her shoulder, currently breastfeeding her baby boy. The problem is the consequences of revealing that fact. The blonde said as he dug into his bratwurst sausage, the Vatican will cease to exist because of this. A power vacuum. Kuroka connected the dots. Is it going to be that bad? Very. I mean, we would be literally destroying not only Christianity, but Islam as well. We are talking about the two largest religions in the world. Destroying their faith would cause the world to fall into a state of chaos. That's not even something Blacklight can handle with our secret fight against Chaos Brigade and the Order. Have any of the investigators found anything as to whom or what exactly the Order is? The wife asked. Naruto shook his head. No, though we speculate they could be some kind of old organization that had been in the shadows for a very long time. Though how they got technology similar to ours is a mystery. Right now, though, they aren't that big of a problem, but they will still need to be checked. Right now it's Chaos Brigade that we will need to focus on. And what of the purists? Our guys down at the States will handle that. Kuroka nodded but was then alerted by her son no longer feeding. Smiling down at Bolt, she lifted her yukata to cover her breast. Well, looks like he's full. Naruto chuckled while digging into his breakfast. He's a healthy eater, that's good at least. You're going to grow big and strong like Mama and Papa, right Bolt? Kuroka cooed, getting a yawn from her son while she held him up and placed him on her shoulders so that he could burp. You know, Naruto placed his head on his hand while looking at his wife. I find it hard to believe that someone like me was so lucky to have a wonderful wife like you. The Nekosho giggled while gently patting her son's back. I've lost count on how many times you've told me that. It's still true. You're a wonderful person, Naruto. I mean, you took in a criminal like me. You're no criminal. He denied. You protected your sister. Family always comes first. But it nearly got her killed in the process, she solemnly said. You didn't know something like that would happen. He gruffly said, there are just some circumstances we just can't control. All we can do is pick ourselves up and move forward. Yeah, she said, giving loving looks to her husband and precious baby boy. He's going to be a lady killer when he gets older. Naruto said whilst chuckling, I just know it. No, he won't. Kuroka haughtily declared, he's not allowed to date until after he's married. Honey, Naruto deadpanned, are we seriously going to discuss his love life? He was only born a few days ago. I stand by my statement. Naruto could not help but smile at how cute she looked being all haughty and whatnot. It was just one of the many traits he loved about her. He truly was the luckiest man in the entire universe. So what's on the agenda today? She asked him while she placed him on a crib near them as she resumed her breakfast. Nothing. I got a few reports to file out, but after that nothing really. So a family outing? She asked with a hopeful, earning a nod from her beloved. Family outing indeed, my fair maiden. Down in the town, Bolt had become a smash hit as flocks of women young and old came to see him. All making a WWS as they cooed at him. Thankfully Bolt was asleep when they were all flocking over him, and he hadn't developed his eyesight yet. Kuroka had already explained that Nekomata developed their eyesight after a week of birth. You two must be very proud. An elderly woman said while patting the father on his shoulder, your son looks like you. But he has his mother's eyes, that itself is the best trait he ever got. Kuroka, to her credit, simply flushed a light shade of pink. He always had his way with words. Her flush only brightened at the many young women cooing at the sweet words he had given her. I wish I had a man like that. She's so lucky to have married Count Riger. That only inflated the Neko's house ego. She really was lucky to have snagged a man like him. Well then, Naruto began, if you will excuse us, I would like to spend some quality time with my family. Of course. The elderly women nodded while the young women pouted, all of them wanting to look at the baby more. Today's outing was wonderful. Kuroka had thoroughly enjoyed spending time with her husband and newborn son. As soon as they got back, Naruto had gotten a call on his phone, and she knew what it was about. It was time for him to go work. Yeah? He asked as he spoke to the phone. Yeah, I'll be there. See you then. Work? She asked him with a sad look as she set her son down on the crib in the living room. Yeah, he smiled sadly while giving her a kiss. I'll be back before you know it, my heart. Just be careful out there. I will, he said, kissing her passionately once more before kissing his son's forehead. Go ahead and order dinner if you want. Okay. Several hours later, somewhere deep in the Arctic Circle en route to the Pacific. Fully geared and holding his Alaska 470 and custom-built sniper rifle, he boarded the VTOL aircraft, and no sooner than that it lifted off into the air. Within the aircraft he looked into a datapad where the mission data was being displayed. Apparently there have been a few terrorist attacks in Japan's limb clinics, and to his luck the terrorists have been traced to a small town. Kuo, the town his wife's sister Sharon was currently residing in. Sir. The pilot snapped the man out of his daydream. We're approaching the Skinfax Sea. Thank you. Alert the ship that I will be arriving shortly. Yes, sir. The Skinfax C class of submarines was a testament of Riker Industries' technological and military capabilities. Well, it would be a testament were it not for the fact that it was kept secret to the entire world. It was a fully functional, fully underwater aircraft carrier that has been powered by a nuclear fusion reactor that was encased within a container that should the ship be destroyed, the reactor would be still intact, preventing any radiation from spreading. It was a massive ship, 433.3 meters long, and 75 meters wide vessel. It dwarfed the already massive Boré-class submarine that superseded the Typhoon class currently being used by the Russian Navy. It could house a single fighter squadron while still leaving room for transport aircraft and land vehicles. Only 3 of these monsters were built due to cost, and one of them was Naruto's to command. Skinfax C to incoming VTOL aircraft, we have you on our radar. Copy that. Skinfax C, requesting permission to land. The pilot of the VTOL acknowledged, I have disciple on board. Acknowledged, permission granted. Welcome back, Commander. The aerial ship's runway made way for the VTOL as several soldiers line up to greet the grandson of their leader, Marlene von Riker, CEO of both Riker Industries and the secretive Blacklight. As soon as the VTOL aircraft landed and was sealed within the vessel, the submarine immediately submerged, rendering it invisible to both radar and sonar thanks to its magnetohydrodynamic drive, or better known as the Caterpillar drive, a silent propulsion system built on every Blacklight submarine. Along with its undetectable propulsion system, it was layered with thick rubber in order to prevent sonar detection. But even with its massive size, it maintained an average speed of 35 knots topside and 28 knots underwater, extremely fast in terms naval capabilities. Instead of torpedoes, it was armed with tactical high-energy lasers or THELS. It was armed with a total of 20 lasers, 4 on the bow, 4 on the aft, 3 on each side, 3 on the top side and 3 on the bottom. From that it was armed with 3 SAM missile launchers and several 20mm anti-air guns. But it was not the lasers that it was the most powerful. It was armed with several Nimbus missile tubes. The Nimbus missiles are special shockwave intercontinental ballistic cruise missiles, armed with a high explosive warhead designed to detonate in mid-air airburst. The warheads used allow the explosion to remain airborne for several seconds before dissipating mid-air and destroying anything in its radius. It was the next best thing to a nuclear missile. The ship had a complement of only 500 men and women due to it being a submarine and because of the advancement of technology that allowed fewer crewmen to operate a vessel. Along with that, it had 12 pilots for its fighter wing, several pilots for VTOL transport aircraft, and a company of Blacklight's elite soldiers and Spider tank crews. Thanks to the benefits of having fewer crew, it was a spacious ship, allowing personal rooms for each crew member. Welcome back to Varish Commandeer. The submarine's XO saluted the blonde along with the bridge's crew who did the same. Thank you, Ramius. The blonde shook the older Mon's hand before addressing the bridge, as you were, all of you, let's get down to business. Ramius nodded and did so. The ship's course is en route to the Pacific as we speak. We'll have a VTOL ready within the hour. Good. Naruto nodded as he approached the tactical table. The ship's mission was to set up a presence and operate in the Pacific Ocean while the other 2 operate in the North and South Atlantic Oceans. From there the Skinfax C can be used as a relay and mobile command base. So how is the wife and newborn? Naruto smiled at the XO who was at least twice his age. Good, I am the happiest man in the world right now. The older man smiled as he stood beside his commanding officer. Just be sure to not repeat the mistake I did, don't ever let them go. I don't ever plan to, he said before putting on his commander face. Status of the AMCM? Anti-magic countermeasures are online and functional, sir. A weapons officer reported. We are also running silent, no one can see us. Good. The anti-magic countermeasure or AMCM, pronounced AMCAM, was a special barrier that protects the Skinfax C from any known magical attack that was used by the 3 factions. Speculations say that it could probably even protect it from a dragon's attack, though they are just speculations as its full potential hadn't been fully tested due to the lack thereof. But for everyone, it was the best defense against the 3 factions, though even then they were still unsure if it could withstand an attack from a Seraph or the 4 demon lords of the underworld. But it was still better than nothing. So what's the situation that our precious limb clinics in Japan need fixed? The XO brought up the information on the tactical table's computerized screen and showed images of several damaged centers. We received reports of our clinics firebombed by terrorists, suspected to be purists along with religious zealots within their ranks. We tracked them into a small town in Kuo, Gremory territory. Possible Order or Chaos Brigade involvement? Unlikely, but there is still a chance. A chance is a chance, and I am not taking any chances. I want a perimeter in the town, seal all points of escape. I want a fallback contingencies set up as well in case of supernatural encounters. Japan is one area where the angels have significant influence, especially with exorcists. Be prepared to have them attack us just for being augmented. Once we are within range, contact Major Motoko from Public Security Section 9 and inform her and her unit of the situation in Kuo. Commandeer, play the Hunt for Red October theme. Brothers and sisters of Blacklight. Naruto spoke through the comm as he addressed the entire crew. A new dawn is rising for our people. From this day onward, we will finally show our true colors to the supernatural world. No more will humanity lag behind while our cousins bask in luxury, enjoying their cradle of power. From this onward, we will stand among them as equals. Helm. Set course 093 to 0115. Ahead full. Time to go work. Outside the large vessel, deep beneath the Arctic Ocean, the Skinfax Sea engages its optical camouflage and other stealth systems as it makes way for the Pacific Ocean. Flanking the beast were two Akula-class, Shuka B, attack submarines that had been retrofitted with the same kind of weaponry. Following the beast, they engaged their own cloaking fields. Nah. Plan A never works, it's a universal fact. Yes. Skinfax C from the Ace Combat universe and one of my absolute favorite super weapons. I also guess who Marco Ramius is if you are all Tom Clancy fans. Omake. Takakoma's take on God High Mr. Naruto. The blonde turned around to see a blue four-legged bipedal walking tank just roughly over 7 feet tall. It had a pair of three-fingered arms with what appeared to be machine gun barrels installed in the center. Along with that, it had a snout that housed a 50mm grenade launcher. Hey Takakoma. How are you today? I am good. Say, you know about that existence of God thing that I had trouble understanding before? The robot asked, getting a nod from the blonde. I think I understand it now. Maybe, just maybe, it's a concept that's similar to zero in mathematics. In other words, it's a symbol that denies the absence of meaning, that meaning that's necessitated by the delineation of one system from another. In analog, that's God. In digital, it's zero. What do you think? Through the entire time, Naruto simply stared at his robotic friend, not knowing exactly what to say about it all. What I am getting at is this: the basis of our design and construction is digital, right? So for the time being, regardless of how much data we accumulate, none of us will ever have a ghost. But for analog-based people like you, Mr. Naruto, no matter how much digital components you add on through cybernetic prosthetics, your ghost will never diminish. Plus, because you have a ghost, you can even die. You're so lucky. Naruto simply could not comprehend what he just said. Sure, he already has a degree in cybernetics and technological science and development, but hearing it from a robot was just, well. I take it back, you guys are a weird. It was early in the morning, but no one dared come out at the sight of soldiers clad in black armor and holding weapons that looked like it could you 1,000 times over. Everyone knew the reputation Blacklight soldiers held, and everyone knew that provoking them was a bad idea. All they could do was watch from the windows or the sidelines as a soldier's upper half of his body peeked through the hatch of an AMZ-26 Badger IFV striding through the streets, heading straight for the center of the town. Motherwell, this is Disciple Actual. Naruto spoke through the radio as his IFV drove through, approaching town's warehouse district. Copy that, Disciple. We have you on visual, just keep moving forward. Understood, Motherwell. Disciple out. Within the IFV, 3 other men were readying their weapons, all of them bearing the same uniform Naruto wore, along with the new Datalux Slant X2 helmet. Once we're in the area, we move fast and quiet. They already know we're here since we woke up the locals. Tread carefully and make sure we all come back home safe and sound. Yes, sir, was the collective agreement of the rest of the squad. As the armored vehicle approached the warehouse sector, the squad was put on edge. Everything was quiet, not even the sound of a rat could be heard. Slowly and quietly the squad exited the vehicle while the IFV scanned the area for any movement. Baptist, what do you got? Nothing on the scopes, sir, answered the IFV's gunner. Not even a single fucking heat signature. I don't like this. Neither do I, Baptist. The blonde then gestured his hand forward, ordering his squad to move up. With their backs pressed up against the outer wall of the large warehouse, they slowly crept up to the door that was barely open. The distance between the door and its lock was only an inch. Naruto took a small peek and saw the lights were all out. Night vision on. The squad nodded and activated their low-visibility optical display. Through their eyes all they could see was black and white seen through their helmets. As their commander slowly and carefully opened the door, their weapons were trained on it as well as their surrounding area in case if an enemy tried to flank them. Move in. Silently and quickly, they entered the warehouse, alerting no one in the present area. Nothing on scopes, you? Clear. Clear. Nothing here, sir. Person, hit that light switch. Yes, sir. The soldier did so, but as soon as he did, he could not believe what he and the rest of the squad saw. Lights are on, what the fuck. Chapter 3. It's nice having friends. 0700 Hours Disciple Squad sat in their IFV as the rest of the units move into the warehouse sector, already moving the dead bodies of children the squad found in the building. Those were all little kids. Corporal Ray Person muttered, those were all fucking little kids, man. That ain't right. They were augmented, not physically outside augmented, but all of them had some sort of heart implant. So now we have fucking purists killing kids because they weren't human enough. Ray exclaimed, that ain't fucking right. Always knew those purists were fucked up. Sergeant Andre Baptista said as he looked through his gunner sight, but damn hombre, they just got even more fucked up. It's weird. Sergeant Bradley Iceman Roberts spoke up, not a single person in this town knew what happened here. That just makes them all suspects in our eyes. Naruto muttered, handing an MRE pouch to Ray, the world is just a playground for all those damned higher races. You think the fucking church supports the purists? Ray asked. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. The blonde replied as he leaned into his command seat. How many kids were in there? Round 20 bodies, give or take. Brad said, most of them haven't even hit 10 yet. Fuck me. Ray cursed, if I ever find the son of a bitch that did this, I am going to enjoy ripping his guts out. Get in line, Ray. Naruto was about to say more when his radio went off. Word from HQ, sir. The 4th squad member, Lance Corporal Klaus Steiner, handed the radio to his commander. Disciple here. The blonde spoke to the radio speaker. Yeah, area is secure, no casualties reported besides the bodies we found, so our next order is to make contact with the Gremory? Alright. Well, do that as soon as possible. Disciple out. So we finally meeting them? Naruto nodded. Yeah, time to make ourselves known. We'll be meeting with the Gremory at Kuo Academy this afternoon. So everybody get some needed rest. We'll be using the warehouses as a temporary base. What about the one where we found the kids? Destroy it. He ordered before turning to look at a passing female soldier. Jenna, inform the company that we'll be using the warehouses as a forward base. Yes, sir. Kilsteinhaus, Bavaria, Germany, are you okay? Yeah. The blonde nodded through the computer screen as Kuroka looked at him with concern. Just didn't like what we found in that warehouse. There was nothing you could have done, just be thankful they will be getting proper burials. Naruto nodded, I just can't believe they would go this far. I am just glad you're okay. The Nekosho said with a somewhat sad smile, I just got word from Mom that you will be meeting with the devils today. We are. He confirmed, time to make ourselves known, I just hope it all goes well. You'll be meeting with Sharon like you promised. Yup. Kuroka smiled as she cradled her sleeping son, when will you be back? Soon, I hope. After we meet with the Gremorys, I'll see what I can do. I just have a feeling that something is going to go down after this. I'll see you then, my heart. Kuroka said, placing her hand on the camera screen, which Naruto did the same. I love you. I love you too. As the video turned off, the Nekosho let out a soft sigh while still holding her few days old son. Before long she heard the doorbell ring. Placing her son into a crib, she went to the door and activated the security camera footage, getting raised eyebrows from her. Mom, she said as she opened the door, looking at a red-haired woman that looked like she was in her late 20s despite being older. Hello, Kuroka. Adelaide von Reiger, eldest daughter to Marlene von Reiger and adopted mother to both Naruto and Kuroka. Come in. You're worried about him, aren't you? The redhead asked as she sat across the young woman in the living room. What wife wouldn't be? The Nekosho sadly smiled as she poured some tea for her adopted mother. I mean, we have only just become parents and now he has been called into the field. That's the life of a military wife, Kuroka. Adelaide said, coming from me, it is better to keep them happy than to keep them safe. I know, Kuroka said, I am just scared, he's married to me after all, and I am still wanted in the entire underworld. You know we won't allow them to lay their hands on you, you are a part of this family. I know that too, I am just scared they might go after him. They all think that Neko's house are dangerous, so I also fear that they will go after my baby. That will never happen. Adelaide reassured her before looking at her grandson. How is he? Has he gained his traits yet? He won't until he turns a month old. The Nekosho replied while caressing her son's whiskered cheek, though he is already starting to gain a bit of his eyesight. I just wish Naruto is here right now. He'll be back. The redhead said, Mom will be there during the first contact talks, so that will give him more than enough incentive to go home. After the talks, the unit will be temporarily relocated to the Middle East. We still have problems with the religious fanatics there. The purists have gotten their ideals drilled into their heads. Naruto suspects the church is supporting and supplying the purists. Adelaide chuckled. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. After all, they don't exactly like us. They did convince Italy to withdraw from the European Union. How about the talks of Europe becoming a federation? Kuroka could not help but ask. Talks are going well. The UK surprisingly is going to back out, but the rest of Western and Eastern Europe minus Italy is all in for it. Blacklight will function under renewable contract to work alongside and train the Federation's military, Enforcer Corps. How soon will the European Federation be official? Within the year, but training of both the Army and the Enforcer Corps is already underway. Thanks to your contribution of chakra research, some of our soldiers have already exhibited chakra-like systems in their bodies. Glad to be of help. Kuroka smiled. I just hope that my people will be able to migrate to Europe soon. Adelaide smiled and placed a hand on hers. I am sure that once we reach out to the remaining Nekomata in hiding, we will be able to convince them. For now, just wait for Naruto to come home. I will. Several hours later, Japan Kuo Academy Blacklight had dismantled the warehouse used to keep the dead children. While doing that, they had used the other warehouses in the sector as a forward base of operations. This of course did not go quietly, as the locals had expressed concerns as to what they were doing here. But they were assured by Japan's Public Security Section 9 that they are here under jurisdiction by them to quell the terrorist presence. In exchange for getting their help, they were allowed to set up a presence in the town. Unfortunately, that did not quell the overly growing concerns, as many of the people feared the PMC, mainly due to propaganda created by the church, but of course everyone believed it because they were the church. And everyone knows that you can never go wrong with the church. Tensions between most of Europe and Italy were high, as the Vatican had begun slandering them for no longer siding with God. But none of the Vatican had known the truth, the real truth, a truth that all of Blacklight and Europe's leaders know. A truth that could shatter not only the two largest religions in the world but the angelic faction as well. But they weren't going to use it right away, they were saving it, waiting for the right time. For now they needed to build up. Whether they like it or not, war was something that wasn't too far away. The Skinfax Sea, on the other hand, was currently docked in Blacklight's Pacific base of Iwota, or Iwo Jima in English. The island had come under ownership of the Riger family a few years ago when Japan had lost interest in maintaining the place, so it had become the family's private vacation spot while building a base for its private military. Right now Naruto stood next to his grandmother within Kuo Academy's occult research clubhouse, where the elderly woman who looked like she was only in her late 40s despite being older. As you can see, Lady Gremory, we are very aware of what goes on around here. Rias simply stared at the older woman currently holding a cup of tea as her eyes scanned the man next to her, wearing obviously advanced weapons despite the fact that the assault rifle was a Kalashnikov, but the obvious evidence that they had Damascus steel worried her. These were the people that had been assaulting Chaos Brigade units all over the world. What are your intentions, Ms. Riger? Right now it is simply to establish relations with you and your people, and to let them know that humanity is no longer at the bottom of the food chain. That was what she was afraid of. Rias knew that the humanity had become much more innovative over the past century and a half. They had become much more smarter and much less ignorant. The Devil Council of the noble families will certainly not like this. They had enjoyed their luxury of ruling over humans, perhaps a little too much, and they were certainly not going to let this slide. She was even more shocked at the man standing beside Marlene. It was that man she met in the train station back in Akihabara. She had no idea that Naruto was the grandson of perhaps one of the most powerful women in the world. I will most certainly convey this to my brother. While my brother is a much more reasonable person and will most likely accept this, the majority of the council might not be so. I completely understand what you are saying, young lady, Marlene said as she maintained her small smile. Another thing before my grandson takes his leave and returns to his family. Naruto nodded and walked up not to Rias, but to Kaneko Taju, Rias Rook, and handed her an envelope. My wife and I wanted you to have this. I am sure that you will be most surprised of the contents of this. Now if you will excuse me, I am going to return to Germany and be with my wife and newborn son. Kaneko hesitantly took the envelope as the Blacklight soldier turned around, exiting the door and boarding a transport VTOL. Go ahead, child. Marlene motioned Kaneko to open the envelope. I am sure that you will be surprised as to what my grandson and his wife has in store for you. Go ahead, Kaneko-chan, Rias said, giving her the go-ahead. Kaneko nodded and slowly opened the envelope. Seeing a picture within it, she pulled it out, and what she saw she could not comprehend. In the picture was a beautiful woman with long black hair and gold eyes holding a newborn baby boy with gold hair and the same gold eyes the woman had. This woman holding the baby was her older sister Kuroka, and the man who had just left was her brother-in-law. Oh Oni-sama. What? Rias nearly gasped along with the rest of her peerage, walking over to her rook and seeing the picture. Her eyes bulged out in utter shock. What is the meaning of this? I assure Lady Gremory. Marlene calmly said, there is no foul play here. My grandson is your rook's brother-in-law, and your rook, Kaneko Taju, or as we know as Sharon, is an aunt. Rias Pon, who had brown hair gasped, Kaneko-chan is an aunt. I am an aunt. Oni-sama has a son, a male Nekosho. Ms. Riger. Rias narrowed her eyes. Do you realize that you are harboring a SS-class criminal? I would be mindful of your mouth, young lady. Marlene sternly said. Be lucky that my grandson was not here to hear those words coming out of your mouth. We are all aware of why she did what she did. And by no means do we see her as a criminal. What she did was murder her king. In order to protect her sister from that man who wished to experiment on her for the use of senjutsu. Rias looked at Kaneko in shock, who also had the same face. Marlene continued. Kuroka's powers exceeded that of her king's, so that man wanted to get his hands on her sister, and replicate it, but Kuroka wouldn't have any of it. So in order to protect her from experimentation, she decided to kill him, and the rest is history. Now if you wish to go for a visit, it can be arranged quite easily. All Kuroka wants is her family to be whole again. Now then, can I get another cup of tea? This brew is simply amazing. Half a day had passed and Kuroka was elated to see a transport VTOL touching down just a few dozen meters away from her home. Seeing the man exit it approaching her in a calm orderly fashion. She did not wait though. She rushed out to meet him with her child in her arms, pulling him into a loving embrace while locking her lips onto his. You're home. I am home. He looks down to see his wonderful son in his wonderful wife's arms, only a few days and yet it felt like forever. That's my line. Naruto chuckled and saw his son, already fast asleep. Kissing his forehead he greeted him. Hey buddy, daddy's home. I have dinner waiting. Then let's eat, I am famished. Once putting Bolt in his crib, the husband and wife sat in the living room, cuddling and enjoying the touch of their skin against each other. The phone rang, getting Naruto to reach for the device and answer it. This is Riger. Yeah. Hey Ray. Yeah. Yuha. Alright, thanks for letting me know. What's wrong? Kuroka acts as she saw the upset look on her husband. It's Brad, again, started talking about his ex-fiancée. That made the Nekosho sigh. He needs to move on, it's hard for him not to. I mean they've been together for 10 years, and she just jilts him and marries his best friend of all people. He leaned down and rested his head on top of hers. He told me I was a better best friend. He stuck out for me. I stuck out for him. It's not fair. He did nothing wrong and yet the love of his life simply up and left him for someone else. I want to help him, I just don't know how. Kuroka pulled him closer and nuzzled his chest before pecking him on the lips. One step at a time. First just be there for him, then analyze, and then just go on from there. Now, about Sharon. I gave her the envelope, though I didn't wait and stay to see her reaction. I should get a message from Grandma soon. I see. Well, get a follow-up message when we can. He told her, we just have to be patient. Japan Kuo Academy disciples AMZ-26 Badger. The rest of the squad sat in their IFV, silently eating their dinner. At least the food isn't like what I had back when I was with the Marines. Ray said as he ate his steak. The entire company was having a barbecue. He was about to take another bite when he saw Rias Pon looking around. Hey kid. What the fuck are you doing here? Oh the brunette nearly jumped. I was just curious, and Ms. Riger invited us to join in on the dinner. Then what the fuck are you waiting for? Ray asked him, causing a certain bespectacled student council president in the vicinity to frown at his choice of language. Grab a plate and get some chow. Alright. High schoolers. Ray snorted. Don't be so hard on them, Ray. Brad lightly chided while eating his own fill. They may be devils but they are still ignorant to most of the world, just like any average teenager. Looking at the brunette who got his food, called out to him, hey kid, come here and join us. Ray kept quiet. Maybe they can get some intel on this kid. Besides the fact that he's a horny little fucker that prefers to think with his dick. Issei Hyodo was his name, a second year in this fine institution. We want bite kid. Brad told him as he moved over to allow the teenager to sit in the vehicle, never been in an IFV before. The pawn shook his head. Well now don't mind Ray over here, he just likes to act like an idiot from time to time, most of the time. Screw you Brad. You ever think about getting married, kid? Brad asked the brunette, causing him to nod vigorously. Oh yeah. Issei exclaimed, I am going to get myself a harem. Ray nearly spat out his drink and broke into fits of manly giggles, holy shit. Issei chose to ignore him and simply let out a lecherous grin, I am going to have all the opie in the world. My word, Klaus deadpanned, he's like Ray, only worse. Fuck you Klaus. Brad simply stared at the boy before he spoke in a somewhat emotionless tone. Women will always cost you money, but marriage is the most expensive way to go. If you want to pay for it, Trombley, go to Australia. For $100, you can order a whore over the phone. Half an hour later, she arrives at your door, fresh and hot, like a pizza. Issei's friend Asia, who approached them because he was there, became a bit disturbed about and couldn't help but ask, You're against marriage, Sergeant Roberts? Ray looked at the blonde girl, actually becoming quiet for once. Brad got dumped. Brad begun his little story as he looked down and poked his food. My sweetheart since junior high dumps me and marries my best friend since junior high. And the best part about it? He looks at the two teenagers and gives out a bitter smile while his voice was laced with resentment. We're still all friends. They're that kind of happy couple that likes to hang photos of themselves all over their fucking house. Sometimes I just go over there to see my ex-fiancée doing the things that I used to do with her with my best friend. Surfing, jet skiing, even going out on simple dates like going to the movies and eating out in a nice restaurant. He smiles once more, only looking more bitter and more angrier than before while still maintaining his polite demeanor. It's nice having friends. Asia and Issei looked down, actually feeling sympathetic for the man. Ray remained quite along with Klaus and the two operators of the IFV. He was nicknamed Iceman for a reason. Eurotank Panther 1A3 main battle tank. Besides Blacklight as its original designer, the list of manufacturers for the Panther 1A3 mounted combat system reads like a who's who of the biggest European auto, tech, and weapons companies. Its main cannon is of German design, its targeting system is French, its power plant is from Austria, its gearbox is from Spain. The European Federation proudly boasts this fact, but keeps quiet about the Panther's chassis, which is actually Israeli. In fact, much of the Panther's internal design and layout is borrowed from the Israelis. Much of that technology, e.g. the Merkava tank, were originally designed by Israel. By using the same hydrogen engine technology that powers the AMZ-26 Badger, the Panther 1A3 is able to go much longer with little to no refueling, especially when compared to the M5A2 and T100, making the logistical problems of supplying Panther units less troublesome or expensive. Considering the historical fuel problems of tanks during World War III, this could be a vital advantage. Much like the AMZ-26 Badger's engine, it makes little to no sound when on the move. The Panther is also equipped with a 7.62mm chain gun, which can be replaced with a high-power microwave emitter. The high-power microwave transmitter is considered a cruel weapon by critics, and a move has been made to have them banned by the Geneva Convention, though no actual notion to ban it has been made. As a result, the Panther is one of the most advanced main battle tanks in the world. It is one of the most feared main battle tanks in the world. One of the most unique aspects about the tank is that it only crews 2 instead of the normal 3 or 4. Thanks to the advancement of technology, reduction of crew numbers has lessened, allowing more space for the 2-man crew as well as the ability to house more electronic equipment to operate the tank. The commander is both commander and gunner thanks to the multi-use systems. The driver has been given a screen in order to drive from the inside. Safety systems were also state-of-the-art. In case the tank is destroyed, the crew is completely safe as the ammo stowage is completely separate from them thanks to its autoloader. Automatic fire control systems as well as escape hatches on the floor were installed. Thanks to its anti-mine and explosive reactive armor, ERA, systems, the tank has been rendered immune to IEDs or improvised explosive devices. As for the name, it was a unanimous decision to name it after the best tank in World War II. After all, it was only proper that they name their best tank after such a successful design. As for armored vehicles, the AMZ-26 Badger was a favorite of Naruto's as it was a fast and well-armored vehicle. Thanks to the advancement of countermeasure systems, every vehicle in the European Federation was rendered immune to any IED. The worst thing that could happen to a Badger is that it gets flipped over due to its lightweight. A capable commander on the field and able to make on-the-spot decisions when under heavy fire, he became a distinguished in the Middle East during a terrorist attack on one of the major cities. He has already refused several promotions as he would rather operate on the field than work behind a desk. A trait he had inherited from his grandmother. He was born to Alicia von Rieger, younger sister to Adelaide, and a German tank commander by the name of Welkin, though he inherited his grandfather's blonde hair for some reason. Unfortunately, 10 years after he was born, an accident occurred that killed both parents while leaving the child with a missing right arm. Though he was at least given some semblance of comfort, as thankfully his younger sister wasn't there with them. Isara von Reiger, born November 3, 2020, was only 5 years younger than Naruto. The accident occurred when they were going to pick up Isara from Adelaide's place, as the youngest child had gone to visit her cousins. Unfortunately, that never happened. Now at 15 years old and attending high school in Munich, she makes occasional visits to her brother and sister-in-law. She was at least spared the grief of losing her parents, as she was too young to remember. She plans on following her father's and brother's footsteps into becoming a tank commander once she graduates high school, joining Blacklight and going into the family business. So how was school? It's good, nothing special though. Isara answered. Like her mother, she was born with vibrant brown hair. Alicia was the only daughter to have been born with brown hair as opposed to red. That's good at least. So how about you? She asked him. How's my cute little nephew? Naruto chuckled through the phone. He's a healthy eater. He's wondering when her aunt gets to come visit. I'll be sure to come this summer. You better. Isara snorted at his joking tone. So what about you? How's work? Nothing special. Just made contact with the devils, and grandma is already doing peace talks with the 3 factions. Do you think we can come into a peace treaty? They will have to. He dryly said. They can't risk war with us. A war they know they will lose, since we have the advantage on both numbers and technology. You know, Isara began, it baffles me how they have been around for a long time and yet they made no effort to advance their technology. That's what happens when you rely on magic too much. There is little to no room on progress when that happens. Though I would be lying to myself if I didn't wish it would stay that way. Isara let out a dry chuckle at his words. It's more fun when you have the advantage, huh? Yeah. I have to go. I'll see you soon. Love you, little sis. Love you too, big bro. Bye. Click Chapter 4. Generation Kill. 1 month later, a month had gone by since Europe secretly made contact with the 3 factions. Leading them was Marlene von Reiger, first president of the newly formed European Federation. The new supernation had a GNP grid greater than the United States, and its military power rivaled both the United States and Russia. With Marlene now president, Adelaide had taken over as Reiger Industries and Blacklight's CEO. The Kilsteinhaus house in Bavaria had become a fortress, since it housed not only Naruto, but his family, with 2 of them being a part of the endangered Nekomata race. Only all of Europe had been made known of the 3 factions, and with that came varied reactions, especially from the very few religious faiths. Thankfully, riots hadn't occurred, as they had been told that the government wished to establish relations with them. Though by now most of Europe no longer had that much religion in it, as rumors had begun to spread as to who the angels really are. Even with all of that, life in Europe moved on. People went on with their lives as if nothing ever happened. Blacklight had been officially merged with the European Federation's Enforcer Corps. Under renewable contract they will be serving alongside the military. While officially under European jurisdiction, it will still maintain its independence on missions and operations, as well as providing security and military consultation to less hospitable locations in the Balkans, Africa, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia, places where violence is a social norm. The formation European Federation caused a stir among the entire world, as well as shock at the bold move. No longer was Europe a group of nations, but an entire unified nation under a single banner. The chosen capital for the European Federation was Paris, as it proved to be not just a sound and logical decision due to its tactical relevance, but it was also a favorite spot for tourists. Not all reactions were positive. The United States had every reason to be concerned, as Blacklight had quite a number of former US soldiers being employed into the PMC, not to mention a number of them had been granted citizenship. Russia too was also concerned. The Europeans had begun production of expanding their military, causing the Russians to join in on the arms race, something that hasn't happened since the Cold War. A united Europe had become a global superpower, and this time they are playing for keeps. Kilsteinhaus, Bavaria. Germany. Naruto was now getting ready for his assignment now that European Federation Enforcer Corps is now in full swing. His 1-month-old son with his cat ears in full view was sitting on a baby stool, playing with his food. Bolt. Kuroka light chided her son as she whipped the baby food off his face. Don't play with your food. Baba baba ba, was all the infant could say while smiling and giggling at his mother. Honestly. The Neko show light smiled as she wiped the mess away. I fear you will be so much like your father when you grow up. Hey, Naruto whined. I turned out great, didn't I? Thankfully, Eep. His wife squealed and laughed when she felt the strong arms of her husband pull her close, capturing her lips in a loving kiss. Vanilla, I like vanilla. Naruto. Kuroka moaned as her eyes turned to their son who was now staring at them, clapping his hands. Bolt's watching. He chuckled and pecked her lips one more time before grabbing his bag. I have to go. Kuroka sadly smiled as she pulled him into a hug. Take care of yourself. I will. He nodded and leaned down, kissing his son on the forehead. Take care of your mom, you hear? Baba baba. Bolt patted his father's cheeks while giggling at the kiss he received on the forehead. Feeling her husband's lips one more time, she watched him go out the door. She had been content in becoming a housewife, tired of the constant fighting she had endured before meeting him, tired of the constant running. Now she had been given a wonderful chance to simply settle down without the fear of devils coming after. She had been given love from the most wonderful man in the world and was blessed with a son. Life can't get any better than this. Breathing out a sigh, she returned to look at her son who once again made a mess of himself. Didn't I just clean your face just now? Baba baba. Kuroka giggled, wiping the mess off his face before planting kisses all over his face. My baby boy, you're going to be so much like your father. Several hours later, J-Town of Kuo, the VTOL aircraft touched down in the warehouse district where Blacklight had currently set up shop, and there was D Company with Naruto's men waiting for him. As he set foot onto the hard pavement, he was greeted by salutes from every soldier he passed by. Approaching his AMZ-26 Badger infantry fighting vehicle, he was handed a datapad. Resupplying is just about done. Whatever this mission is, it better be interesting. Naruto nodded as he placed the datapad down before climbing up on the vehicle that had the insignia of a grinning fox. Good to be back, but at the same time bummed that I am away from the love of my life and little bundle of joy. Well, be back in no time, sir. The soldier said. Yeah, he had a distant look while flexing his cybernetic arm. Where's my squad? About that. Searsex sort of wants us to. Spit it out, Corporal. We're babysitting. What? Warehouse 11 office room. What? The Blacklight soldiers winced at the loud tone while Adelaide, the new CEO of the PMC, sat there behind her desk, calm and collective. To be honest, she wasn't surprised that her son was angry. The Lord of the Underworld wants me to take some high school student, have him wear our armor, and ride with us like he's won us. Naruto, I know this sounds ridiculous, Naruto snorted while his tone still sounded angry. This is insane. Standing there and recomposing himself, he cleared his throat. So who am I taking? Issei Hyodo, Adelaide bluntly replied. The blonde closed his eyes, trying his best to keep his anger in check. They want me to take the one boy who is too horny for his own good. The one guy whose only brain is the one between his legs. The one guy whose dream is to become some stupid harem king. They want me to take that guy? Adelaide looked sheepish but nodded. Yes, that guy. Oh no. Naruto moaned in despair as he sat down in the office room. Are they trying to get me and my men killed? I will not have some horny incompetent fool in my unit. No, scratch that. The entire company. I understand you're upset. The blonde deadpanned. I am livid. They want me to take some child, some inexperienced buffoon, and not only that, but he hasn't even graduated high school. I don't care if he's a devil, angel or whatever, I will not stand for this insult. Adelaide sighed. Of course he would say that. If it were her mother sitting here, she would be saying the exact same thing. Those two can be so alike, it's scary. You have orders, Lieutenant Commander. Gritting his teeth before sighing in resignation, he nodded and saluted his mother. Yes, ma'am. Seeing her adopted son make his way out of the office, she looked to her left and gazed at a picture of her younger sister, Alicia von Riger, the mother of Naruto. Oh Alicia, if only you were here. Naruto grumbled his way towards his squad where Ray, Brad and Klaus were maintain their weapons inside the IFV. Hey boss. Ray nodded at his commanding officer. Why the long face? We're getting a new guy. Already. Klaus raised an eyebrow. Who are we getting? The horny kid. The entire squad went silent and stared at the blonde. Whoa, back the fuck up. Ray raised his finger. We're getting the kid who is possibly more hornier than me. That same kid who uses his dick as a brain. Naruto could only grimace as he nodded. Yes, Searsex requested that we take him with us. Letter says he wants us to show him and teach him how to fight properly. Wonderful. Brad blankly said, we are getting some horny, overly horny, greatly horny child that not only uses his reproductive organ as his only thought processor, but does not even know how to fight properly besides swinging his fists everywhere. Not to mention he has a talking gauntlet. So where is the FNG? We are to pick him up at Kuo Academy. The blonde said as he swapped his Kalashnikov for the newer Bal-27 bullpup assault rifle. So mount up, we've got some babysitting to do. Fuck me. Ray cursed as he put and the rest of Disciple team closed the lids on their helmets. Yo Rudy, Baptist. Get in the vehicle, we got some babysitting to do. Occult Research Club building, this is unacceptable. Rias roared, I will not allow my precious Issei to go with them, I will not. Sierzek sighed, he knew that his little sister was going to be difficult to talk to, but he didn't think it would be this difficult. Rias, the agreement has been made. And you didn't even think of consulting me. The Demon Lord winced, I am sorry. You better be. Rias said before sitting down, I'll let Issei know of this, but this does not mean I am willing to forgive you for this. Sierzek could only look down in shame, I understand. Bucko. Akeno walked in with a somewhat sad look, a black light vehicle arrived. Rias swallowed her saliva, looking nervous as men had come to take her Issei away, I'll be out there to meet them shortly. Naruto was not a happy camper at this moment, sitting atop the IFV just beside the turret that contained a pair of 4-barreled multi-purpose self-loading tow missile system, a 30mm chain guns in the center, and a high-powered microwave emitter. This system has both lethal and non-lethal settings. The non-lethal setting can quickly disperse groups of infantry by inflicting an intense sensation of being burned alive while not actually causing any physical damage. The lethal setting is much more fearsome, and some commanders prefer not to use it as the end results could only be described as horrific. The only one known commander to use the lethal setting on a frequent basis was none other than Lieutenant Commander Naruto von Riger. The microwave emitter was an extremely controversial weapon, as when its lethal setting is used, it was known to literally melt a mon's skin of his bones, leaving nothing but their bony remains. No infantry was safe from it, not even light vehicles were safe, as the weapon it would melt of the metal, sometimes literally fusing the occupants together with the vehicle. It was that much of a controversial weapon. He sat there as he spotted a certain red-haired 18-year-old young woman with her peerage walking out of the small building. Dropping down onto the ground with his squad already waiting, he approached the group. Lady Gremory. Lieutenant Commander. Rias nodded before looking at the blonde in the eye. I would like to tell you that I did not agree to this. That makes two of us. He replied in kind as looked at Sierzek in the background for a second before returning his eyes to the heiress. I did not agree to it either, but it seems politics has a way of screwing us over. I agree. Kaneko spoke up as she stepped forward. How is Oni-sama? Naruto smiled and looked at the petite girl that is his sister-in-law. She should be preparing dinner right now, though unfortunately I am not there to join her. If you want to go visit her, you are more than welcome, just be sure to contact my mother to arrange for transport. The Nekosho nodded as Issei stepped forward. Brad. Naruto turned his head, do we have a support gunner? The 28-year-old man shook his head. The blonde squad commander returned to look at the boy, grabbing a light machine gun and handing it to the brunette. We have one now. Watching her beloved go, Ria's heart broke that he had been chosen to be in such dangers where human-made weapons designed to kill devils and angels existed. Times are changing, much to the ire of many of the noble houses of the devils. A shadow was covering their world, a dark and terrifying world where her race was no longer at the top of the food chain. I don't like this. Akeno said in a tone that was not like her. They're sending him into the unknown, can we even trust them? I can trust Naruto Oni-sama, Kaneko said, much to the surprise of others. He is a good person. I hope you're right, Kaneko-chan. Rias said while letting out a sigh. I hope you're right. Few days later, somewhere in Issei ironically could barely stand the testosterone-filled transport vehicle as his fellow squadmates were singing a bastardized version of Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. He was in a totally different world. Clutching his machine gun, he simply huddled himself in the corner of the passenger seat while Ray, Klaus and Baptist sang. His squad commander Naruto and second-in-command Brad the Iceman sat on the other end, with the former sitting quietly and talking to his wife on the phone. Rudy and Ray take turns on who gets to drive the beast, an affectionate nickname for their Badger infantry fighting vehicle. Right now it's Ray behind the wheel. Hey new guy. Yeah. Makes me wonder how you got in with us. I've been asking myself that since yesterday. Ray couldn't help but laugh. When I joined Blacklight, I asked the recruiter about pussy. What? Issei couldn't help but scream in his mind. The guy told me I'd get to go to Thailand and get all kinds of strange. Ray declared while driving into the Nightwreaths Mountains just up ahead. What'd you ask about, Brad? Brad probably saw that TV commercial. The one with the knight that fucks up the dragon and then turns into the Blacklight soldier. Total fucking ripoff of that Marine commercial, but at least they did it better. Woo, woo. Baptist cheered. Dress blues with a sword, Hermano. Ray snorted. Fucking dress blues commercial, man. That got so many fucking dudes. Now look at us. Fucking new guy got drafted and doesn't know why he's here. The commander is away from his family. I am half a world away from good Thai pussy. And Brad is out here rolling around in fuckbutt hunting for dragons in a mop suit that smells like 4 days of piss and ball sweat. The brunette could only gape. He had never heard someone swear so much, and yet here was one guy. You should have rolled into battle with a fucking sword, Brad, that would have fucking rocked. This is a nightmare. Issei lamented in his mind. Don't worry. Brad assured the youngest and newest member of the squad, you'll get used to it. That's what I am afraid of. To be honest, he didn't know who was hornier, himself or Ray. But what scared him the most were the firefights he was going to get into. Unlike raiding games where you don't get killed, he was going to experience firsthand how humans fight. Feeling the vehicle come to a stop, the squad exited the vehicle and saw that they were in a checkpoint that led into the Himalayan mountains. We're here to relieve and switch rounds with the guard. I'll let them know we're here. Everyone else, take positions. Issei nervously went up beside Brad as he seemed to be the sane one. Klaus and Ray took positions right up at the gate while Rudy drove their IFV right up by the gate, allowing it to position itself strategically. Once he was done, he got his sniper rifle and knelt down behind a sandbag. Seeing the fast attack vehicle leave the premises, the entire squad was left alone. Are you sure it's okay with just us here? Issei couldn't help but ask. Brad shrugged. Well, be fine. Standard protocol is that if we see a vehicle that's not supposed to here, we just fire a smoke grenade as a warning to ward them off, and if that doesn't work, just fire a warning shot. Issei nodded. Okay. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Ray interrupted them as they saw a white car approaching. What do we got here? We got one coming at us. Brad aimed his BAL-27 with an underslung grenade launcher and fired a smoke grenade. As the smoke popped out, the car did not stop and kept on going. Time seemed to slow down as Issei aimed his weapon at the car, and without missing a heartbeat, his finger pulled the trigger, firing 2 bursts straight through the car's windshield and hood, killing the driver and possibly wounding the other 2 occupants. Hold your fire. Naruto ordered as he looked at Issei. You didn't fire a warning shot. Brad chastised the boy. That was a wounding shot for fuck's sake. Issei simply stared at the car that was now smoking from the damage that was caused to it. Issei. Naruto walked up to the boy. You okay? The brunette was now shaking at what he had done while watching 2 robed men rush out of the car with one of them bleeding from the arm. C-car kept coming. Brad looked at his commander before looking back at the boy, helping him up. Yeah, come on. He led him back into the IFV. Sit down, it's alright, we were just doing our jobs. Naruto could only sigh. Bad fucking idea to begin with. Tears were now pouring down behind the brunette's helmet. He had just killed a civilian. Inside the IFV, all was quiet as no one dared speak about what just happened back there, how they watched a family get reduced into a smoldering crater. It was just too painful to talk about. That silence though was broken when the radio came to life with Ray answering it. This is Disciple, go ahead. Disciple, Motherwell, you are to head to the airfield immediately. We received reports of a possible insurgent attack. How copy? Ray then handed the radio phone to Naruto. Copy that, Motherwell, we are en route. Congratulations, Issei. Ray told the brunette, you are going into your first real combat scenario. Hooray. Issei said with little to no emotion. Alright, check your weapons. Naruto ordered as he did the same to his firearm. Combat is standard as usual. Keep your distance and don't do anything rash. Issei. I want you up with Brad. Just do what he does and you'll be fine. The young devil nodded and pulled the receiver of his LMG back, putting a bullet into the gun's chamber. Minutes passed and the IFV entered a combat zone as other Blacklight and EFEC soldiers were already firing away at insurgents in the distance. Disciple team dismounted and quickly got to cover, meeting up with their fellow Blacklight soldiers. What's on the menu today? Ray jokingly asks. All you can eat insurgents. One of them replied, chuckling as they did so. We spotted at least 24 foot mobiles with a few of them carrying RPGs, so far they haven't fired them yet. All we've been getting for the past few minutes since it started was AK fire, nothing more than that. Have snipers immediately take anyone that pops their head out. Issei, get to work. Why yes sir. The brunette nodded and quickly got down and fired his machine gun at the opposing force. New guy. The other Blacklight soldier asks. Hot and fresh. Brad replied before joining the devil, but he's learning. At the same time, Baptist, who was in the gunner's seat of the AMZ-26 Badger IFV, begun firing its 30mm autocannon and multi-purpose missile launcher. Hyodo household Japan in the living room of Issei's home. Rias was pacing back and forth. It had been more than a week and a half since Issei was sent to the Middle East with the Blacklight soldiers, and since then there had been no word from him. It's been more than a week. Rias. Akeno looked at her best friend. Calm down. I am completely calm. The redhead snapped at her before realizing who she was talking to. Sorry. Rias, I am worried too, we all are, but getting angry won't help. We just have to be patient. He's out there, fighting against people who could very well kill us with the weapons they have. I can't believe my brother would do this. We just have to trust Riger, the raven-haired girl told her. If Kaneko-chan trusts him then we should too. Rias finally sits down and lets out a long audible sigh. I just hope they can bring him back, safe and sound. I do too. Has Kaneko gone to visit Kuroka? Akeno nodded in confirmation. She has. Kilstein House, Bavaria, Germany. Kaneko didn't know what to think of the sight she was seeing. In front of her was her older sister currently breastfeeding a baby boy with cat ears. A male nekosho, something that is extremely rare since most nekomata are born female. It was an extremely bewildering sight for her. It was not too long ago did she witness Kuroka kill her king in cold blood, and it was not too long ago did she witness her lose control of her powers. Now it seems that those memories were really far away, as she was now looking at her sister who was giving off a motherly glow. You know, Kuroka spoke up while a blanket was covering her right shoulder as she fed her son. I never expected you to actually come. I half expected you to think this was all a lie to lure you in, and yet here you are. I wanted to know for sure. Kaneko said as she looked at the figure of her nephew. He's really yours? He's the first male nekosho born in 100 years? The older sibling nodded and smiled. He's my baby boy, my little Bolt. He looks so much like his father. Sharon, I know you're still angry at me for what I did, but it had to be done. He was going to torture and experiment on you. I just couldn't let that happen. Nay Sama, at least, the Gremory were kind enough to take you in, and for that I am grateful. The younger nekosho said nothing as she watched her nephew finish feeding, allowing her sister to lift up her yukata and cover herself. He's a healthy eater. The black-haired nekosho giggled. He has his father's appetite. He's going to grow big and strong. Yes you are, yes you are. The infant giggled and cooed at the sound of his mother nuzzling her nose on his nose, lightly patting her face with his tiny hands. It was strange, seeing her older sister like this. Normally she was a playful and coy type of person, but she guessed that becoming a mother would even change her. Would you like to hold him? Eh? Would you like to hold him? She asked one more time as she walked up to her and sat down beside her. Is it okay? Kuroka nodded. Of course, Bolt should get to know her aunt. Kaneko gulped down nervously as her sister gently handed her the little bundle of joy. Carefully lifting her arms, Kuroka placed her son on them. There, just like that, and make sure to hold him close so that he doesn't fall over. To be honest, Kaneko had never held a baby before until now, and it was a weird feeling for her. Here in her arms was her nephew, the first male nekosho in over 100 years. From there she could see the whisker-marked baby toothlessly smile at her. He likes you. See, you're a natural. The white-haired girl nodded. Something's bothering you. It's that friend of yours, isn't it? You're worried about him being in the Middle East. Her silence said it all. Sharon, you're worried about him. He's a pervert. The older woman rolled her eyes. Sharon, once he comes back, he will never be the same. The first time someone steps into the battlefield, you will never look at him the same again. He will be a completely changed man, for better or for worse. What are you talking about? Kaneko asked her older sister while putting her nephew to sleep. The first time Naruto went abroad for his first ever mission, he came back a month later with different eyes, the eyes of a soldier, a warrior. While I could still see the same fun-loving man in him, most of it has been overrun by the soldier Naruto. It's hard to explain it in words compared to seeing it for yourself. When I saw him, he needed all the emotional support I gave him. Every night he would wake up screaming and crying at his father. Every night I had to hug him and hum a lullaby so that he could sleep. He was on medications for the next few months. 1 month, he was just there for 1 month, and it did that to him. Your friend will be in the Middle East for that long as well. Kaneko couldn't believe what she was hearing. Issei was going to be there for the next 2 to 3 weeks and he was going to experience all the death and destruction that the human world knows best. She wondered, what would Ria say if she told her all this? Caressing her son's cheek, she smiled at the sight of her younger sister getting to know her nephew more. All you have to do is to have you and your friends be there for him once he gets back. After that everything will fall back into place. Iraq military airfield. The fighting had stopped when all 24 insurgents were wiped out by sniper and IFV fire. Right now Disciple team was huddled in their squad tent, checking their weapons with Brad showing their youngest and newest member of the squad how to clean his. There you go, you'll be cleaning weapons like licking your girlfriend's pussy in no time. Ray chuckled. Excellent choice of words, Sergeant. Honestly, Issei wasn't surprised at how much innuendo they were using. He was in a unit filled with men after all, and the women in the airbase who were just as armed and just as deadly didn't care about the words they used. As long as they aren't provoked or angered, they should be fine. While Issei finished cleaning his weapon, he noticed at how Rudy really looked without his helmet. He had a slight tank on his skin, black hair and black eyes. With his last name Reyes, there was no doubt he was Latino. Ray saw this and could not help but smirk. You know, it doesn't make you gay if you think Rudy's hot. Rudy heard this and simply smiled while he stowed away his weapon, looking at Issei, who nearly choked on the words said to him by Ray. We all think he's hot, Ray declared while cooing at the Latino. Jesus, you're beautiful. I am going to hell out here, Rudy said. Back home, all I eat is sushi and vegetables. The nutrition here is garbage. We eat what we got, fruity Rudy, Naruto said while placing some ammo into his empty magazines. You know, I am glad Sharon and I moved to Paris. There's no fat people there. Dog, Baptista snorted. Why do you care about having fat people where you live? I want to live in a place where people care about themselves, Rudy replied. Damn it, Rudy. Brad scoffed while cleaning his rifle's barrel. When are you going to realize you're fucking gay? That got everyone, including Issei, to laugh at the jibe. The world you live in with Banana Republic Daisy Duke shorts, and now you're rolling into battle with your damn chicken suit and glasses. Brad took a glance at the semi-ghillie suit before returning to his weapon. You dress like a pimp queen. I don't dress like no goddamn pimp queen, Rudy corrected the sergeant as he put on his shades. I wear clothes that are body conscious. Issei and the rest couldn't resist laughing at that. Out of everyone in the squad, Rudy was the nutritionist and health inspector, making sure everyone was healthy and doing daily exercises so that they could stay in shape. Issei himself was thankful for all the help he had been giving him. In just a few weeks he had already started gaining some muscle. Rudy was his close combat instructor. For the past week and a half he had taught him different kinds of martial arts. It was thanks to him that he was also eating healthier than before. Worst thing that could happen, Ray told them as he pointed his finger at Issei. Rudy turns Issei into his very own mini-me. Is that so bad? Rudy asked, getting laughs from everyone. What do you think, Issei? The brunette shrugged. If it gets Rias watering her mouth while she checks me out, fuck yeah. That's what I am talking about. Rudy laughed while high-fiving the young devil. If you will excuse me all. Rudy stood up, placing a few rocks into his pouches for weight, and grabbed his rifle. I am going to do my rounds. I love you, fruity Rudy, Ray screamed as he watched the nutrinist run out and do his laps. So Issei, Naruto finally spoke up. What do you think, the private military life? I don't know, Issei shrugged again. Feels great, I guess. Maybe once I graduate high school I'll sign up for sure. That's if Rias will let me. She's kind of overprotective when it comes to me. Overly attached girlfriend, Ray deadpanned. Issei blushed. We're not official though. Well, official or not, she's wearing the pants in the relationship. 2,300 hours night had already drawn in, and Naruto and Issei were up on the watch while US Army soldiers had just recently arrived from a combat mission of sorts. Reports say that purists had definitely been influencing the insurgents in the region. While they sat there with their helmets on but face guards currently off, they drank some water as they looked at the night sky. Hey, Commander. Naruto turned to his subordinate, who looked at him with a straight face. What is it? How do you do it? Do what? Not get scared. Naruto had to chuckle a bit at the question. Something wrong, sir? No, the blonde shook his head. Do you know the one weakness a devil has? Huh? The one thing that weakness a devil has, do you know? Issei shook his head. Fear. Naruto said, or to be precise, it's the lack of fear they have. I don't understand. It's their general lack of fear of other species. The blonde told him. They were in the top from the beginning, and outside of similar races, they didn't fear superior entities besides a few counted ones. As such, their response to a threat or obstacle, even when they use sneaky methods, they simply use power. The power plays and politics that you have seen, they are but an evolution of the Devil Society, delayed for close to 8 millennia, and only truly evolving after the end of their civil war. What they see as novel manipulation tactics and such, in fact it was human common tactics in ancient Egypt. Again, this brings me to the lack of fear. Some would say that fear it's bad, but in nature, the truth is that fear is good. It's the natural restraint system of our minds against reactions due to a superior threat. From that fear, we were forced to adapt. To distract, to circumvent, to think like the potential threat, to outthink, outsmart, and as we survived and evolved. Because of that we overcame things greater than us. It has been an eternal cycle, even before this incarnation of humanity. I think I understand. You think that I am good at what I do because I don't feel fear. The blonde told him as he shook his head, the truth is, I am good at what I do because I am afraid. Armor. Insurgent armor. A US soldier announced to the entire camp as he pointed to the other side of the airfield. Fuck. Naruto cursed, go get Brad. Yes sir. Issei nodded and ran back to their tent. Back at the tent, Ray was standing in a corner, groaning and moaning in pleasure as a slight audible pound of flesh could be heard from his lower area. The slapping sound merely made him groan even more as his right arm that was down there was moving back and forth. Yo Ray. Issei ran in, where's Brad, the fuck are you doing? Jesus fucking Christ, Issei. Ray cursed at the brunette, my first ever combat Jack and you just had to interrupt me. Fuck your Jack, we're being overrun by enemy armor. Ray growled and pointed to the bed, Brad's in his grave. Issei rolled his eyes and knelt down to the bed, shaking Brad, sir, Commander needs you, we're getting overrun by enemy armor. Brad groaned as he woke up. How long was I out? 6-7 hours, give or take. Good enough for me. Rejoining his commander outside, Issei used the optical device in his helmet and looked at the lights that were seemingly moving towards them. I am counting at least 140 of them coming this way. Ray chuckled. So the only real armor we have are our badgers. We're 24 hours away from the next nearest friendly base, and now an entire battalion of purist tanks are coming straight for us. I like the plan, really do. There's no armor. Naruto said as he lifted his visor, it's a fucking town, and it's not moving. What? Issei looked at it again, you sure? Looks like it's moving to me. Autokinesis. Naruto explained, seeing involuntary muscle movements of your own eyes. Those lights aren't going to come any closer than they are. It's a fucking town. 30 or 40 clicks out there at least. How far out did our American friends call this? They said around 15 clicks out, Issei replied. It's bullshit, there's no armor. Just as Naruto said that, the airstrike that the Americans called in started bombing the designated area. Out in the distance over 11,000 pounds of high explosive ordnance was being dropped into nothing but sand. Ray shrugged, well, apparently the United States Air Force thinks Lieutenant Commander Naruto von Reiger of Blacklight's disciple team is full of shit. Next day, so let me get this straight. Ray grumbled as he drove their Badger down the dirty road heading for the town. The US Army were the ones who called in an airstrike, and yet, they want US to babysit them as they inspect their little mistake. We're PMC Ray. Rudy rebutted, for all intents purposes, we're responsible. That's fucking bullshit and you know it. So who do they have for a translator? Issei asked. One of the translators we hired, his name is Mish. So who exactly we babysitting? Naruto showed them the picture of the US Army lieutenant, the same guy who called in the bullshit airstrike. As the men disembarked with the US Joint Light Tactical vehicle by Lockheed Martin pulled over in front of the Badger. Disciple teams simply sat back as they watched the US Army lieutenant and Mish walk up to an old man with his goat. Hey, Rudy spoke as he pointed to the conversation, what do you think they're saying? Baptist smirked as he and Issei knelt down before starting a horrible interpretation of what they think they're saying. Excuse me Mish, tell the man we come in friendship. And Mish says, Issei continued, deciding to join in on the fun, dude. My big American friends are going to fuck you up if you don't show us some blown up tanks. Ray also joined in, and the old mon's like, hubba da, dubba da, dubba da. Issei continued, and Mish is all, dude. These Iraqis love the fact that we are here. They fucking love freedom and they thought that those fireballs last night were fucking wicked, dude. You Americans have killed a lot of sand. The sand was very evil. Baptist then took his turn, and the lieutenants all. Mish, I just shit my panties. Tell the nice man if he doesn't show me at least one blown up tank, I'll look very stupid and the other officers will all laugh at me. Ray then said, and Mish is all. Dude, throw me a freakin' bone here. How about a freakin' pickup truck with bald tires? Issei started to chuckle a bit, and the old mon's all. Hub dubba, dubbedy dubba. And Mish says, Lieutenant, this dude is totally bummed he can't save your career. He's got no tanks. He then pointed to the goat that Mish picked up, but check it out. You can have his bitchin' daughter. And the lieutenants all weepy and shit. Baptist snorted, fucking frat house pussy. Just as they finished, The lieutenant returned to his vehicle while Mish approached them with the goat he's holding. "Hey Mish," Baptist called out, "what the old man say?" "He was afraid that we were going to bomb his town tonight." Mish then shrugged when they looked at the goat. "LT turned it down, I was really hungry." "Mount up," Naruto ordered as they all got back in the IFV. "Hey." Ray spoke up and pointed to the goat, "You're going to skin that first, right?" As the IFV drove out with the US vehicle, Issei started humming a tune that got everyone surprised that he knew the song. Before long Rudy and Baptist joined in and started beatboxing while Issei continued his humming and eventually thanks for watching.